President Obama took on critics of his administration's sweeping education reform plan on Thursday in a nearly hour-long speech at the National Urban League's 100th anniversary convention. Through the $4.35 billion Race to the Top initiative, Obama's Education Secretary Arne Duncan has prodded states to lift caps on charter schools and link student achievement to teacher pay. The administration has also succeeded in getting at least 29 states and the District of Columbia to sign on to common academic standards that would, for the first time, set shared performance goals for math and reading. In his address, Obama said his plan for education is working, but he acknowledged it has come under criticism.
But I think the single most important thing we've done is to launch an initiative called Race to the Top. We said to states, if you are committed to outstanding teaching, to successful schools, to higher standards, to better assessments, if you're committed to excellence for all children, you will be eligible for a grant to help you attain that goal. And so far, the results have been promising and they have been powerful. I know there's also been some controversy about Race to the Top. Part of it, I believe, reflects a general resistance to change. We get comfortable with the status quo, even when the status quo isn't good. We make excuses for why things have to be the way they are. And when you try to shake things up, some people aren't happy.
President Obama's education program and the Race to the Top initiative have come under fire from civil rights organizations, community groups, and teachers' unions. Obama took on some of the specific criticisms in his address.
Even as we applaud teachers for their hard work, we've got to make sure that we're seeing results in the classroom. If we're not seeing results in the classroom, then let's work with teachers to help them become more effective. If that doesn't work, let's find the right teacher for that classroom. So for anyone who wants to use Race to the Top to blame or punish teachers, you're missing the point. Our goal isn't to fire or admonish teachers. Our goal is accountability. It's to provide teachers with the support they need to be as effective as they can be, and to create a better environment for teachers and students alike. Now, so far, about 30 states have come together to embrace and develop common standards, high standards. More states are expected to do so in the coming weeks. And by the way, this is different from No Child Left Behind, because what that did was it gave the states the wrong incentives. A bunch of states watered down their standards so that school districts wouldn't be penalized when their students fell short. And what's happened now is at least 2 states, Illinois and Oklahoma, that lowered standards in response to No Child Left Behind, are now raising those standards back up, partly in response to Race to the Top. And part of making sure our young people meet these high standards is designing tests that accurately measure whether they are learning.
Obama's speech came on the heels of news that New York public school students are not performing nearly as well as prior state tests had revealed. For more than half of public school students in New York City failed their English exams last year. Last year's test had claimed more than 2/3 were passing.
For more, we're joined here in New York by Leonie-Diane1.mov, a public school parent and executive director of Class Size Matters. And joining us on the phone from Long Island is Diane Ravitch, a professor of education at NYU, New York University, and senior fellow at the Brookings Institution. She's the former Assistant Secretary of Education under President George H.W. Bush. Her latest book is The Death and Life of the Great American School System. Let's begin with you, Diane Ravitch. Your response to President Obama's major address yesterday on education.
Well, I think that what happened in New York City shows that the direction he's taking is wrong, because everything he is proposing in Race to the Top and also in his blueprint will rely on exactly the kinds of methods that led to a massive fraud in New York State. That is that Race to the Top is requiring states to judge teachers by student test scores. And we now know, based on this immense fraud in the city and in the state of New York, that the test scores are not reliable. So teachers will be judged by unreliable data, and we're going to dismantle the teaching profession in pursuit of this mechanical fix that won't work.
Well, Diane Ravitch, one of the reasons President Obama gave that particular speech was that he's coming under increasing fire, even from civil rights organizations who are questioning not only the emphasis on testing, but the push for more and more charter schools, regardless of the quality of those schools. And your sense of how the ground is shifting around the country, among parent groups, among civil rights groups, around the whole issue of school reform.
Well, I think this week, the last week of July of 2010 turns out to be a pretty momentous week. First of all, 6 civil rights groups came together and issued a joint statement that blasted Race to the Top and also the blueprint, the Obama blueprint, because he is building, although he doesn't admit it, he's building his education agenda right on top of the Bush education agenda, which is to test and punish, to close schools, to evaluate teachers in ways that are unfair and unsound from a research point of view, to increase the number of privately managed charter schools. All of this is going to be immensely destabilizing, and it's going to hit hardest on minority communities, because most of the schools that will be identified as the lowest performing schools will be in poor Hispanic and black communities, and there will be massive massive destabilization. This is not good, and the civil rights groups recognize this. There was a second report that came out this week from a group of an organization of community groups from across the country, echoing the same complaints. We don't want more community schools. We don't want more charter schools. We want better public schools. Help our public schools get better, not by more testing, not by more charters, but by sensible approaches like more pre-kindergarten, smaller class size, more support for the people who are teaching in those schools. Common sense approaches, which this administration seems to be avoiding and looking for the quick fix that George Bush pursued and that Mayor Bloomberg pursued, and that didn't work. So I think there are immense implications here. And we also saw in the Congress where Congressman Opie tried to strip money away from Race to the Top, away from merit pay, and away from charter schools. And the administration's response was, don't take money from Race to the Top, take it away from food stamps. And Joel Klein said to take it away from Title I. These are all programs that benefit the neediest families in our society, and they were prepared to harm people who were in need of help in order to preserve the president's favorite program. So I think that the implications of this week with the test score explosion, the blow-up of the fraud in New York City, and these 2 grassroots groups saying this is not working, and take a more common-sense approach and stop this destructive test and measurement and punishment approach, this is big, because up till now, everybody seems to have gone along with the rhetoric of President Obama, but you have to separate his rhetoric, which is always very elegant, from what his administration is actually doing, which is just more Bush, more No Child Left Behind.
Leonie Haimson, I'd like to ask you